This is the fifth and final video in our playlist on getting and printing RUSLE2 results for Virginia conservationists. We'll now demonstrate how to print results of the RUSLE2 plan calculation that we created in the previous video. As explained before, this is our Virginia guidance document on getting results with RUSLE2 plans. In this video, we're going to demonstrate this last highlighted step in this document, how to print to Microsoft Word. Before we jump in, let's quickly review some background about how RUSLE2 printouts work. Over here we see a conceptual representation of RUSLE2 software and the key associated files on the user's hard drive. We've got the software shown here, and it reads and writes to a Moses database that is preloaded and customized on the user's hard drive. When we tell RUSLE2 to print, the software dumps data into a Microsoft Word template, which is represented by this arrow. RUSLE2 print templates are shown here. This process creates a new document in Microsoft Word format that is freestanding and separate from RUSLE2 and the Moses database, and those are represented graphically right here. These reports can be saved, modified, and so forth, just like any Word document. So the first implication of all this is that these key print templates must be preloaded to the user's computer in order for RUSLE2's print function to work. Multiple templates load by default with the RUSLE2 installer, so you really don't need to worry that much about it, and the default print templates include the Virginia print templates that we're going to demonstrate in this video. Those Virginia templates are from around 2007, so they're old, but they still work well. Before we leave this slide, a couple of notes on RUSLE2 setup. The default RUSLE2 installation puts everything on the user's hard drive as shown graphically in this representation here. I should emphasize that you can potentially customize this setup by putting your local Moses database and even print templates on network drives that are linked to your computer. This can potentially offer some advantages, such as keeping your database backed up, but can also present some potential disadvantages. If needed, look for other resources on RUSLE2 setup. Here are our objectives for the printing demonstration. We're going to show how to print our previously created plan calculation with 3 levels of detail. We're going to first show a Virginia plan printout summary, then a Virginia plan printout with details, and finally, we'll show how to create a Virginia plan printout with details plus additional cut and paste management info. Now we are in our plan calculation that we just created in the previous video, and we're going to show how to print a summary report. So go to the File menu and choose Print Report, and now we have a choice of Word templates. We're going to choose the Virginia Plan Printout Summary, so double click on that, and we see the hourglass turning as the data dumps into Word. Now our Microsoft Word report has been created. You can see it's just one page. Let's take a closer look at it. As the name indicates, it is a summary. There's a number of spaces where you can modify, putting the client owner name, track number, notes on data collection, and there's space for recommendations or comments at the bottom. But the key information that prints out is just a summary of outputs. There's no information in this printout about inputs. And you can see here the 4% slope. We have the 2 alternatives and the key results shown. Sometimes to enhance legibility, you may want to do some customizing. For example, I'll just change the background so that we can visually separate the 4% slope alternatives from the 8% and the 12%. Now, a key step never to forget is to save this Word document in a place where you can find it again. So I'll go here under Documents, and I've created a folder specifically for RUSLE2 printouts. And I will call this my summary of RUSLE2 plan demonstration. So now my summary printout is saved in a place where I can go find it. It's completely separate from RUSLE2 and can be printed, modified, emailed, and so forth. We've accomplished our first objective, create a Virginia plan printout summary. Now on to our second objective, a Virginia plan printout with details. I'm back in my RUSLE2 plan. This time I'm going to print a report with more detail. And I'm going to choose my Virginia Plan Printout with Details template. Hourglass spins as RUSLE2 dumps the data into Microsoft Word. You can actually watch the plan template being populated. Once the document is finished, we can see that down here we have 5 pages total. So let's take a closer look. So the plan printout with details, the first portion looks very similar to the plan printout summary. It has just the key results and space for the planner to write in details about data collection and recommendations. But then it moves on to have a section on inputs. So we see the key inputs from the calculation, climate, soil inputs in this table, and then crop management or C factor inputs. So for each of the alternatives, we see the name of the management file and where it was found in the RUSLE2 database. Now, one thing that doesn't automatically print out are details about the crop management, such as dates, operations, vegetations, and yields. And there are some instructions here on how to paste those in, and I will demonstrate that next. We see next a section with support practices, and as you'll recall, we had no support practices selected, and our contour system was rows up and down the hill, which is the default. And finally, this document ends with a section on RUSLE2 plan outputs and definitions, and so there's yet another table with the results. This one includes sediment delivery, which in almost every case is not important. Another thing that's useful here is there are definitions of some of the key terms: conservation plan soil loss in tons per acre per year, sediment delivery, but especially soil conditioning index and STIR. There are Virginia definitions of those, and that can prove very useful. And finally, we have fuel usage and cost estimates at the end, which is something we never really use in Virginia. So let's just look at this in a multiple page view and review what we've got. The Virginia plan printout with details has this first section, which is just like the summary report, but we also have a section here on inputs, and we have a section on outputs. If there's some portion of the printout you're not interested in, like these fuel usage and cost estimate results, you can simply highlight and delete. And for example, if we don't want these instructions on how to cut and paste in management details, could delete that as well. As always, we want to illustrate the important process of saving this document. And again, I'm going to go to my Documents folder, where I have a subfolder specifically for RUSLE2 printouts, and I'll call this one my detailed printout of RUSLE2 plan demonstration. So we've accomplished our second objective, which was to demonstrate how to create a Virginia plan printout with details. Now on to our third objective and a demonstration of how to take that detailed plan printout and add additional crop management information. So when we print a Virginia plan printout with details, we in fact don't get all the details we might need to fully understand what went into the calculation. And as shown here, Section 4B does not actually contain crop management or C-factor details for our selected alternatives. It contains instructions on how to find those and paste them in. And I'm going to demonstrate how to do that. The first thing I'm going to do is make a copy, and I'm going to call it my detailed printout of RUSLE2 plan demonstration with management details. So I've made another copy, and now I'm going to scroll to section 4B, and I'm going to replace this name alternative 1 with baseline grass hay. we're going to toggle to RUSLE2. And what we're going to do is drill down for one of the alternatives. Let's go into our 4% slope. And let's drill down for the baseline perennial grass hay scenario. Let's drill down into this profile. So now we're in the profile screen where we have a lot more detail about this one scenario. And we're going to choose File, Print Report. We have a lot more profile printout templates than we had for plans, but we still go down to the bottom. We have our Virginia profile printout with details. So let's choose that one. So again, the hourglass is spinning as a Microsoft Word report gets populated. We can see it. You can see the template being filled right now, and it's done. So let's take a look at this profile printout with details. So we'll look at it a little more closely. It starts with a summary, but again, because it's a profile, we've zoomed in on just one alternative, so we only have one set of results for soil loss and soil quality. And then as we get into the profile input, we have our climate, we have our soil input, topography, but then under crop management, we have a lot more detail. We have the rotation duration. This table shows the vegetation files that were used in creating the management and the yields. And then we have a table with all of our dates, operations, vegetations, and so forth. As we go further, we have support practices, but then under our more detailed output portion of the printout, we actually have surface residue cover estimates, which can potentially be useful. They can be somewhat confusing, so there is an explanation here on how to interpret this stuff. And then more detail on soil loss estimates with definitions of terms. But let's go back to this key section here with management details. What we can do for this first management alternative, the perennial grass hay, is we can highlight key information about the rotation, duration, and so forth. We can copy. So I'm going to right click, I'm just going to copy. Now I'm going to toggle back to my previously saved detailed plan printout and navigate to section 4B where I've created a place for this information under the heading baseline grass hay. And then I'm going to paste in the information that I just copied. So what we have now added to this printout is detail about the first scenario, baseline grass hay. I'm going to prep for my second scenario, which we actually called alternative 1, continuous soybeans with tillage. And I'm going to be pasting that information right under here. To do that, I need to toggle back to RUSLE2, and I'm going to get out of the nested profile for the grass hay alternative, and I'm going to go into the nested profile for the continuous soybean alternative. So it's just a matter of keeping track of where you are in the software and in all these screens, but once you figure that out, it's not too complicated. File, Print Report, the Virginia profile printout with details, and again we're dumping into a Microsoft Word document, and once that finished populating, we can again find our C factor or management details, our rotation duration, our crops, which in this case we see soybeans with 40 bushel per acre yield, and then our table with our dates, operations, and so forth. So we'll just right click, copy this. Now we have to toggle back to our detailed plan printout, and we're going to paste right here. So what do we end up with? we've got a detailed plan printout that we can modify perhaps to enhance legibility. For instance, I'll highlight this and maybe highlight this header row just to make it a little bit more legible. Break up this key table. We have climate, soil, and topography factors specified, the names of all of our managements. But now, on section 4B, we have additional management detail. And what I'll do is finish by deleting these instructions. I just demonstrated how to follow those instructions. And we can see for our baseline grass hay, we have all of the detail that you might need in this printout to tell you exactly how the results were generated. And for alternative 1, continuous soybeans with tillage, we have similar information. The other elements of the detailed printout, of course, are still here, support practices, and then our definitions of some key terms and so forth. So now we've accomplished all of our print demonstration objectives. That concludes this video on printing RUSLE2 plans. Don't forget to consult other complementary resources as needed from Virginia NRCS on RUSLE2 and erosion assessment topics.